So the question is, can you power your entire house for a week on an electric vehicle? And I'll just give you the short answer right up at the beginning. Probably not, at least not with the car that I have. Maybe with a really big truck, 200 kilowatt hour battery, maybe. But I have the Ioniq 6 here, and we're going to pretend like we've lost power. Recently had a hurricane pass through, and thankfully we kept our power the whole time, but a lot of people didn't, and we hope that they do really well and they stay safe. But I'm in the central part of Florida, and by the time the storm got here, it was greatly diminished and took down a lot of trees and a lot of branches, but we never lost power at our house, so we're very fortunate for that. But we did a lot of prep to be ready just in case the power went out. And what I want to find out is, what can I do with my car if the electricity goes out? So I'm going to show you the process of everything and how to use a Hyundai Ioniq 6. This also applies to the Ioniq 5 and several Kia and Genesis electric models. Now, I happen to have the limited trim, which has an outlet in the back seat of the car, which I'm not going to be using because you have to keep the car in utility mode, and that uses a little bit more of the battery power to keep the car kind of up and running on some basic things. So I'm just going to use the external outlet. So I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to flip the camera. There's the neighborhood. And here's where we plug in the car. And I'm going to need this bad boy. So we're going to have to get this out of the box. And this is the vehicle to load adapter, as it's cleverly named, and mine is the Electron version. And here's what it looks like. It has this little port that opens in the back. Just a conventional outlet, a 15 amp outlet, and it's 15 amp output on the back of the car. I'm gonna stop the video here really briefly to put some pieces together, and I'll be right back. Before you plug in the vehicle to load adapter, you want to go in your car, and we can see here that we are at 100% state of charge. And we have to go over here to this screen in the Ioniq 6. You'll have to check your owner's manual for your car. And down here it says electrical use settings, vehicle to load. I'm going to set that, and then I'm going to set that all the way down to 20%, and that way the car won't go to zero. And with 20%, I might have 60 to 80 miles of range to go recharge the car if the electricity is out that long. Now we're back at the back corner of the car. We're getting ready to plug in, and it should be a simple process. You just plug that in, and I like to use one of these extension cords. You may have seen the little light comes on. That way you know you have power and you don't have to test it with anything else. So it was that simple. Make sure the vehicle to load is activated inside of your car. Plug in the adapter. It's recommended that you have this cord plugged in first because there's a little button in the outlet area that tells the car to change the vehicle to load. And we now have power, and I'm going to have to run this extension cord into the house, and I don't want to bore you with all those details. So again, we'll come right back. And here I've run the extension cord into the house, into the kitchen, and we have it set up to a power strip and a kilowatt, which I am going to leave plugged in the whole time. We're going to do this for 24 hours to see how much power, how much of the battery we use in one day. And right now, with nothing plugged in other than this power strip, which has a little light on the end, we're using 0.4 watts. I think this is a good time to go over a couple of power basics. And I'll also show you a little screenshot of the refrigerator, which is what we're going to have to plug in next. This is the hardest part probably of this whole ordeal, is pulling the refrigerator out and plugging that in. But home electricity in the United States, generally you have what will be called either 110 or 120, or something that's about double that, which is 220 or 240. The Ioniq 6 cannot do the 220 or 240 power supply. It doesn't have the equipment to do that. So you will not be able to run your oven, your main house air conditioner, a clothes dryer, or anything that's a really big heavy duty electrical usage. So this car cannot run the entire house, and it definitely can't do that for a week. But the question here is, what can you run, and is it way better than just being stuck in the dark and possibly in the hot weather after a hurricane? So that's what we're working on here. The refrigerator uses 115 volts at 6 amps, which is about 690, 700 watts, but you have to not exceed either one of the numbers. The voltage doesn't change. That's just what's provided by the electric company. The refrigerator can pull up to 6 amps, or like I said, around 700 watts. The car puts out 15 amps maximum and 1,800 watts on the vehicle to load outside adapter. It puts out more power on the inside adapter. It's a 16 amp connection, so you can pull slightly more, but it also uses more because the car is in utility mode. So let's take a break here, and I'm going to plug in the refrigerator. Well, I've rolled out the refrigerator and plugged that into our power strip, and we can see on the kilowatt meter it is pulling 160 watts. I think it is prepping to run because it just got unplugged, so there's a little cycle time that it's going to have to go through. Theoretically, this can take 700 watts of power, but it generally won't take 700 watts of power. Starting up, it'll take more, and at times when it's not running at all, it'll take next to nothing. I did a 2-hour test yesterday, and I'll see if I can drop in the picture here on the kilowatt where I think it was an average of 130 watts, and so it's 130 watts per hour. So you could run just the refrigerator off this car for several weeks. I'll see if I can do the calculation for you. I have run a second extension cord from the power strip in the kitchen into the master bedroom, and then plugged in another power strip. And in that power strip is plugged in a portable air conditioning unit. Now, if you are somewhere that's not particularly hot or not particularly cold, you may not need to do something like this. This is a unit from Medea, and I bought it because it is wicked efficient. That exhaust tube that goes outside brings in air and puts the hot air out. Kind of works like a heat pump. I am not an electric expert, but basic air conditioning has a compressor. This has a variable speed inverter, so depending on the temperature you have it set to, it will run a lot and take a lot of electricity, or run a little and take a little electricity. So today our expected high is 85 degrees, so this is a reasonably good test. The other thing that's nice about this, we talked about the car can put out 1,800 watts in total at any one time. The refrigerator could, at least theoretically, take 700, though it probably never will. This bad boy here can take 1,300 watts. So theoretically, if this runs at full maximum power and the refrigerator runs at maximum power, maybe during a startup of a cycle, it could draw too much for the car. So one of the reasons for getting this unit is that it ramps up. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on, and I'm going to set the temperature to 77. You know, it's not cold, but it's way better. Fan to auto mode. So the fan will blow as much or as little as it needs. And the power consumption by this will start slow and build up, so you don't get that spike that you might normally get with a regular air conditioner. So I'm back in the kitchen, and I wanted to show you on the kilowatt unit that the air conditioner and the refrigerator together are now less than 100 watts. So at this point, I'm assuming the refrigerator is not running. One of the things that people don't understand is that not only does the refrigerator have a theoretical maximum of 700 watts, that's what it's rated for, it almost never runs that much, never takes that much power, most likely when it starts. But once it's running, it doesn't take anywhere near that amount of power, maybe 200 watts. And it only runs a third of the time, give or take, depending on how new your refrigerator is. A more efficient refrigerator not only pulls less, but runs less often because it's better insulated. So right now the refrigerator is not running, and the air conditioner in the back is just in fan mode because the power in our scenario just went out. And so it doesn't really have to do much because we were already running the air conditioner. But that'll change during the day, and I'll give you an update. The other nice thing about the kilowatt, as long as the car doesn't shut off, it will show you the total consumption and the time. So we're 25 minutes into our test, and if this all goes well, tomorrow I'll be able to show you 24 hours. Right now it has used 0.03 kilowatt hour in total. Keep in mind that the Ioniq 6, unless you have the entry-level model, has a 77 kilowatt hour battery, 74 usable, and since we're going to save and reserve 20%, that's around 60 kilowatt hours. So far in the first 25 minutes, we've used 0.03, but later on the day, the air conditioner will kick on, and I'll show you what that looks like here. And at any time, of course, we can see the voltage around 120, the amperage being pulled 1.3 currently, and the wattage currently is 93. So we're gonna let that run for a while, and I'll do normal things around the house, and I will use my laptop and charge that. I'll charge my phones here. I'll try these plugs, see if they work. Otherwise, I'll bring an adapter. And we're going to plug in a fan to move the air around. We're going to plug in LED light to see how much power that pulls. And maybe we'll make an espresso. You guys want an espresso? I'll make you an espresso. And then I have a hot plate and a hot pot to do some very basic cooking. I'm not a chef, so we'll do some basic cooking to show you how much you can pull from the car and maybe how long you can do that for. Well, I've had a little hiccup. It's very small, but this is one of the reasons to actually do the test. My laptop, which I thought was charged to 100%, wasn't. It was at 40%, so had to plug that in here. I'm going to unplug it here briefly, and you can see the power consumption falls because the air conditioner is not cooling yet because the house was already cold, and the refrigerator is not particularly running much, and so we're at 88. Plug the laptop back in, and you can see that it's going to ramp up as the laptop is charging. I think the laptop can take up to 100 watts, but that'll be a while to charge, so that'll use a little more power than I'd planned to. But the really big things in this experiment are the refrigerator and the air conditioner. And like I said, if you're somewhere where you don't need the air conditioner, you're going to be all set. And then a little later in the day, when I get hungry, I'm gonna cook something. Maybe some ramen noodles in the hot pot, and maybe I don't know. I'll have to figure out what to cook in the hot plate to give you some examples. All right, we're trying to make this more realistic in plug in things that you're going to need during your day. So I've added another extension cord, and it goes down and around, and it does go into the home office because I want Wi-Fi. And I've now turned on this fan to move air around because the air conditioner is only in the master bedroom, so the rest of the house is going to get hot because it is 85 degrees outside. Clearly, we can't run the entire house off the car, but of course the lights from the electricity, because I do have power, but I have to go get an LED light. I'm not too worried about it right now because it's day, so we actually have sunlight. It's not too bad. So I'm charging the laptop, running the fan, running the Wi-Fi. The compressor is currently running on the refrigerator, and now the total draw is 240 watts out of a theoretical 1,800. Of course, that's a peak, and you shouldn't run the peak amount continuously. You only want to go to 80% load basic electricity. By the way, as I think I said before, I'm not an electrician, so if I get anything wrong, please forgive me. Just trying to give basic information here. Right now, we're well under, and this continuous load amount is what's going to drain the battery. You can go up to 1,800 for a moment and then back down. It's not a big drain on the battery. It's taking a lot of watts over a lot of time. And so right now, 200 watts is the flow rate. You do that for an hour, you're going to use 200 watt hours or 0.2 kilowatt hours, again, out of the 60 that we have. So if you use only 1/5 of a kilowatt hour, you can run this for 300 hours, 60 times 5, 300 hours, which is clearly a lot of days at 24 hours a day, 10, 11, 12 days. But like I said, the air conditioner still hasn't kicked in. And so we'll wait for that to kick in, and I'll come back with more updates, and maybe I'll plug some more things in. All right, even though the power is out, you're going to have to eat. So right now I have this Elite hot plate. What do we call this? Frying pan thing? Whatever. It's on 250 degrees, getting nice and toasty. I got some eggs. I'm just going to make some scrambled eggs, nothing fancy. Use the eggs and or anything else in your fridge just in case the power stays out for too long. This thing can theoretically pull 600 watts. That's what it's rated for. And again, as discussed previously, it probably pulls less than that. But let's check. Right now, we're only at 177. I was going to show you that it was at 600 plus combined. Apparently, it's now paused from heating. But everything combined, it was pulling 600 a minute or two ago. So it does pull quite a bit of power. But of course, to cook a couple of eggs, it's only going to be, I don't know, a minute or two. So while it's a considerable amount of power, it's not going to have, I don't think, a material effect on the ability to use the battery for a very long period of time. So I'm going to pour the eggs in and mix them up from time to time and have me a little scrambled egg breakfast, and we'll see how that goes. Well, the eggs are indeed cooking, and I noticed that this bad boy kicked back on, so we're up to 800 watts of power flowing. It is watts, right? Yeah, about 800 watts. So it does turn off and on, so it's not continuous. Probably should have put some anti-stick stuff on here. Like I said, I'm not a chef, so this is not my area of expertise, but just showing you something a little practical here where we're going to cook some eggs for a minute or two. I don't want to bore you with me cooking eggs, so I'm going to pause and come back. Maybe we'll try an espresso, see how that goes. Well, I've got some coffee beans ready, and we're going to just put them in the hopper and then grind them up, which I'm not going to do in video because it's really loud and I'm pretty sure you'll find it annoying. So I'll be right back with ground coffee beans. The grinding is done. It only took about 20 seconds and it used 150 watts. That's the rate of flow. So it's like a 100-watt light bulb uses 100 watts roughly, and the grinder used 150 watts, but for about 20 seconds. And now I'm going to turn on this machine and see what it does to the watts here. We're using 50 watts, and I'm hit the power button. You can hear it over there. And so, it's using, 200. That's a lot of watts. So that's the startup for the coffee maker, way more than I expected. It's got a heating element in it, so it's got to heat the water so you can brew. So this might be a problem if the air conditioner is running, which it's still not because it's early in the morning, well, midday now. It's not quite warm enough in the master bedroom for the air conditioner to run. But yeah, there it's getting, must be getting close to the right temperature, and the heating has stopped. and we can see all the lights are on now, so that's stopped. So now the next thing is I'm going to start the brew. Sorry if it's kind of noisy, but I want to see how much power it does pull when it's brewing. And we're just waiting for it to start. Hopefully it goes into the pitcher. Yes, that's working well. And again, it's heating up. So this is using a lot of power, 1,300 watts, give or take, for only about 30 or 40 seconds. But, it's still a lot of power. So something to watch out for, that you don't overload your system. And that should do it. And I'm going to have my morning espresso. And the meter, of course, is now back down to 40 because all that's really running is a floor fan and the Wi-Fi. Refrigerator is not currently running, and the air conditioner is not currently running. So the power draw right now is very low. Okay, we're going to do another experiment to get through the day here, and we've got our little hot pot and a can of soup. No water added necessary. And the hot pot just plugged in, and we're currently using 38 watts because all that's running is the Wi-Fi router, the floor fan, and currently the air conditioner is not running and the refrigerator is not running. This thing is rated 1,000 watts. We're going to find out how much power it actually uses. So we're going to pour the soup in here. Oh, see, it was already getting warm. Pour the soup in there. Oh, I got a little extra. I've got to get a spoon, and I'll be right back. All right, I got the entire can of soup out, and it's now in the hot pot, and it just kicked on again, power cycle, or I guess it just kicked off. It was well over 150. Now it's at 36, 37. I don't have it at the highest speed, and it's starting, or the highest temperature, and it's starting to boil a little bit. Let's turn it up so it's near the top temperature. And there we have a spike in the watts, way less than I thought we were going to use. I was expecting this to pull hundreds and hundreds of watts, but it's not. The soup is warming up. Looks like this is only going to take a couple of minutes. There we go. All right, that's what we expected. So it's pulling 800 or 900 now to get it really warm. Apparently there was some kind of time lag, but I don't think I need it on the top setting, so we're going to turn it down a little bit and see. Now, it turned off the heating element completely, so now we know right now we're about a base load of 150 watts. It's starting to boil. Let's see if it's hot. Damn. That's pretty toasty already. It's not taking long at all. I'm impatient and I want to test the system, so we're going to turn it back up and watch the power consumption as the heating element turns back on. So like a lot of things, it runs for a while and then it turns off, and then it runs for a while and turns off. I'm waiting for it to kick in again. All right, we're going to go all the way up.
and I'm guessing it's gonna pop that over 1,000. So there is the potential that if you're running the fridge, the air conditioner, and this cook pot, that you're gonna pull too much. So there we go, there's 1,000, 1,100, it kicked on, and it's heating the soup up. And again, this is a considerably large power draw, but we're only gonna need it for a couple of minutes. It's not like the air conditioner, which would run off and on, or a refrigerator that runs all day. So it turned off again already. Let's check the temperature here. Oh shit, okay, that's hot. So that was only a couple minutes. I'm gonna turn it down and unplug it. And like I said, I don't know, what was that? 2-3 minutes to cook some soup. So it pulled 900 watts for 2 minutes. Not a big power usage, but you do have to watch the spike. So when you do something like this, you might want to make sure that the air conditioner is turned off for 2 or 3 minutes while you do this, so you don't pull too much at any given moment. So I'm going to go eat my soup now, and come back later with more tests and or experiments. It is the middle of the afternoon, 85 degrees outside, so it's time to turn this bad boy on and get it to run. The room is about 79 now, so I wanted to wait until it was at least hot enough to actually run. So it's ramping up now, and I'm gonna get close here, making a lot of cold air, absolutely staggering cold air. Of course, it's not even that loud, and since it's only a couple of degrees different, it probably isn't using a ton of power. But we're gonna go check the equipment, the power meter now, the kilowatt, and see how much power this thing is actually taking. So here we are back at the power station in the kitchen, and you can see how many watts is flowing through. Probably 100, give or take, watts is the Wi-Fi, the fan, and maybe basic operations of the refrigerator. And when the refrigerator kicks on, it might add 200 or 300. So we're getting up here. You probably would not at least use the hot pot on high at the same time the air conditioner is running, because if that added 900 to this or 800 to this, it's going to go over the maximum power that you can take out of the car battery at any given moment in time and trip it to turn off. Let's see here where we are. We have now used 0.8 of 1 kilowatt hour in the last 5 hours. So you multiply that by 5 to get 25, about 1 day. At this rate of consumption, that would be 4 kilowatt hours for a day. But the air conditioner just started, so it probably be more like 6 to 10 kilowatt hours for a day, and 10 kilowatt hours if we can achieve that low of a number. Of course, if we want to use 60 kilowatt hours total in the battery, that would suggest 6 days that we could do this, but we'll see how much the air conditioner affects this. Right now, a total pull of 1,300 watts, mostly from the air conditioner. And I'm going to give the air conditioner 5 or 10 minutes to run and settle down into more of a maintenance mode, maintain the cool air, not cooling it as much, and I'll see if this number gets a little lower, or I'll let you know if it gets a lot bigger. I got distracted doing other things, so I don't know when this reduced power, but it's now 77 in the room, which is not cold by any stretch, but it's not 85 either. So I may try making this lower later, or maybe lower overnight, because that's when you want to sleep. But 77 is pretty nice compared to 85 or more in a hot house. So it's now in this quieter maintenance mode, and the total watts being pulled on the kilowatt meter right now is about 400, and that's about what I figured, because this is probably pulling 200 watts in temperature maintenance mode. The refrigerator may be 100, 130, and fan and Wi-Fi been using the laptop off and on to get some work done today. Got to go plug that in and charge that up again. And we did the hot pot, we did the hot plate. So, we're making progress trying to get by. And again, keep in mind, this is not powering the entire house. This is providing air conditioning in a room so that you have a place to go and have some comfort and a reasonable temperature. Way better than not having power. And so we're trying to figure out, is it glamping in your own house? Fancy camping, glamorous camping in your own house? Way better than sweltering in the darkness in your own house.
Well, I got up this morning and checked, and everything still has power. I did plug in the laptop one more time to charge that up to 100% if I can. My 24 hours is almost up. The air conditioner in the master bedroom, it didn't stop working. It didn't have to run all night because the temperature outside fell. So that saved us a little electricity. And of course, everything in the refrigerator is still cold. There's all the drinks, nice and cold. I've got ice. As you saw yesterday, I cooked 2 very small, simple meals so you can heat food. Whatever you have in the fridge stayed cold. The master bedroom stayed cold. I did lower the temperature from 77 down to 74 when we went to bed. And of course, it is a little bit of a mess on the floor here with the cords and everything. The fan still running. You can hear it, I'm sure. That's still running. The Wi-Fi is still working. Everything's great. So shortly here, I will get the final numbers and put them up on the screen, and so you can see that. And that'll pretty much wrap up our little 24-hour experiment on the Ioniq 6 battery. Just a minute or two here for follow-up commentary. I guess that the total time is 24 hours and 6 minutes. That was the experiment. And so you can see that on the kilowatt, and you can also see that the total power used was 6.02 kilowatt hours. And if you have about 60 kilowatt hours in total that we want to use of the battery to get down the 20%, that suggests that we could do this for almost 10 days. If you don't use the air conditioning, or if the weather is cooler or stays cold, or it doesn't run as much, depending on how little electricity you use, this could go longer. So my original guesstimates from 4 to 6 days were apparently too conservative. So if you just need a refrigerator, freezer, and a little bit of occasional cooking, and a fan, Wi-Fi, lights, laptops, phones, you're easily going to be able to do this for a week, maybe a week and a half. If you're really careful with the energy usage, up to 2 weeks. I am actually kind of stunned at how well this worked. So that's information for you. If you think I did anything glaringly wrong, let me know. And maybe I could rerun some tests or check specific items for you if you want to know what the power draw is. But absolutely fantastic, and hopefully you never lose power. And if you lose power, hopefully it's for an hour, and you don't even set anything up. But if it goes on a couple hours, and you have an electric car like this, you can use the vehicle to load, start plugging things in, and like I said, it's not going to power the house. It's not going to power the whole house. It's not going to power big stuff, but having a couple of lights versus being in the dark, having your refrigerator work and not losing hundreds of dollars of food, being able to cook some basic food items. What an absolute marvelous thing to have. I did at the last minute here also, by the way, check the car. The battery is at 87%. So we used 13% of the car battery out of the 80% permissible to be used. So again, easily a week or longer, and without the air conditioning, I don't know. I hate to say it, but it's possible 2 weeks. It just depends on how much electricity you take out.
And of course, the whole time that you're out of power, hopefully it's, your house, your neighborhood, your city, you can use your phone and check charging locations in your area. And maybe you can find something that's 5 or 10 or 20 miles away that you could drive to and plug this car in for 20 minutes and get back up to 80%. So you could do this for 4, 5, 6, 7 days, go charge the car for 20, 30 minutes, come back and go another week. Absolutely staggering results, way better than I expected. I hope this helps somebody see the value of having a car with a big electric battery, and particularly a car that has the vehicle to load function.